Welcome to today's SeafoodNews.com video, sponsored by the Alaska Seafood Marketing Institute.
After the first cannery was built in Alaska in 1878, salmon quickly became the economic backbone of the territory's coastal communities, and the towns and cities of the Pacific Northwest were riding a wave of resource-driven prosperity. Not 50 years later, the salmon bubble had burst, and runs had deteriorated to the point that something had to change quickly and dramatically. The problem was so great that the need for effective regional fisheries management and harsh management measures to rebuild the runs became a major catalyst in the push for Alaska statehood.
Commercial fishing started in Alaska in the 1880s, a little bit perhaps before that, and it went through a robust period of time with development of canneries and salting operations around the coast of Alaska. Salmon fishing under the federal government was regulated by allowing fishermen to catch fish mostly for 6 days a week. They'd give one day off as a window for fish to go by. There were large traps that companies were able to own. Fishermen were denied access to the resource in many cases because traps were a priority. Foreign fleets could fish within 12 miles of Alaska waters. So we would have salmon fishermen who were shut down and couldn't fish because of poor returns, while foreign fishermen 12 miles offshore were fishing the very same fish. All of those things had an impact in the end, and salmon runs began to decline.
At their peak prior to World War II, 120 million salmon were returning annually to Alaska watersheds. By 1953, the runs had collapsed to barely 25 million fish, and some runs were in danger of disappearing forever. In what proved to be a monumental change in public policy and the management of natural resources, the framers of Alaska's Constitution crafted a unique clause that requires Alaska's resources to be managed as a sustainable public trust. The responsibility for sustainable salmon management now belonged to the people of the state of Alaska.
Salmon was a rallying cry for statehood. The first thing that Alaska did was put in their constitution that you had to manage fishery resource for maximum sustained yield, meaning that escapements came first, harvest second. And so they really embarked on 3 different measures that were critical to its success. One was they limited the number of boats that could fish in the salmon fisheries. First time this had been done in the United States. It had been done once anywhere in the world before Alaska took a fairly bold step. The second thing that they did is they started an enhancement program that utilized local stocks to supplement and to help build up the wild stocks. And then the third measure that was critically important was the effort to ban high seas fishing. And that took congressional action, and it led to cessation of high seas fishing, which was another very important part of achieving the success that the Alaska Constitution set out. Yes, we have years that are more fish and years that are less, but if you think about the last 15 years, probably that's the biggest sustained period of time for the salmon fishery since the beginning of the commercial fisheries in the late 1880s. That's why it's really important, I think, for all of us to support the kind of management that we have in Alaska that makes sure that we get the fish up the stream, replenish the stocks so they'll be fished in the future.
In our next report, we will examine some of the reasons Alaska's salmon fisheries are now considered a model for sustainable management and some of the challenges that lie just over the horizon.
Today's SeafoodNews.com video was brought to you by the Alaska Seafood Marketing Institute. Alaska has been protecting wild and sustainable seafood for generations and adheres to the most recognized and internationally accepted set of guidelines written by the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization. For recipes and additional information, visit wildalaskaflavor.com.